Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting Facebook Live. I'm your host, Jess,
And I'm your host, Lauren.
and today we have a really great informational session for you guys. We're going to talk about in-demand healthcare jobs in honor of World Health Day, which is in a couple days. And we have an awesome special guest, Jamie, here with us. But before we jump into all of that and introduce our guests, Lauren is going to give us a couple Facebook Live tips.
Sure. Thanks for kicking us off, Jess. Today, as Jess mentioned, we're going to talk about healthcare careers and the programs that we offer that map to healthcare careers. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop that and talk with us in the comments section. Just please don't give any personal information away in the comments because they are public. If you would like to talk to us and you're already a Penn Foster student, you can give us a call to our student services number at 1-888-427-1000. If you want to know more about our allied health programs or what we do at Penn Foster, you can give admissions a call at 1-888-427-6500 and talk to someone about our programs, how they may work for you, and enroll if that's something that you'd like to do. So without further ado, we want to introduce our guest, Jamie. She's the director of our allied health programs here at Penn Foster. So Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Penn Foster?
Sure. Thanks, Justin and Lauren, for having me, and hi to everyone. I'm excited to be here and to share a little bit about my experience in healthcare and to share some of the things I do at Penn Foster and to share some of the great opportunities to get people into the healthcare field. As Justin and Lauren introduced me, I'm Jamie Nguyen. I'm the director of healthcare programs at Penn Foster. In healthcare education for about 13 years, and I kind of accidentally fell into it. I started out instructor at first teaching medical terminology. I love learning, consider myself a lifelong learner, and I wanted other people to be excited as I am about learning. In fact, I'm a doctor by training, and I chose medicine because I wanted to help people, and I in education because I saw I could do the thing, help people and help people improve their lives. And I truly believe you can do that with education and job training, especially in healthcare. So some of the things I do at Penn Foster is I oversee, I don't even know, the 50 different health programs at Penn Foster. I make sure that we create programs that are well aligned with employer needs. I make sure the instruction and content is aligned, and the instructors are accredited according to our different accreditation, and our students have the best experience and are able to feel supported as they move throughout the program. So that's some of the things I do here. Other things, I really love about healthcare. I know I'm maybe jumping into this, Jess and Lauren, but I'm not sure. I had to look this up and it changes, but there are like 80 different types of healthcare professionals, and they make about 60% of the entire healthcare workforce, and a lot of them are women. 80% of women make up the workforce. And because, as I mentioned, we have so many different programs at Penn Foster, that there's so many professions to choose from, so many opportunities and to advance and grow in healthcare. So I think, many of these professions that we offer at Penn Foster, and I think some of the programs that we'll be talking about today can start out as entry level, which is one of the most important, and with experience and maybe more training and sometimes more education, you can advance a profession with more pay, more responsibility, and that's even in more demand. And I guess that's a lot of saying that's kind of what I do at Penn Foster. That's really what my vision is and goal is when I wake up every single day.
That's
And that's
incredible,
awesome.
Jamie.
Yeah, I know the pandemic, I mean, healthcare has always been a field that regardless of what's happening in the world, those are jobs that are absolutely essential to a functioning society. It's something, any position in healthcare is going to be needed now and needed tomorrow. But I know the pandemic especially shook things up. So there's such a need for skilled healthcare professionals. So it's just a great field to get into, even if you're starting at entry level. There are so many career options, as you mentioned, where you can grow your skills, figure out what about healthcare you love, and make a lifelong career in that field, which is awesome. So I know we had a few healthcare jobs and the programs that tie to them that we wanted to talk through today that are especially really in demand right now. So wanted to get your thoughts on where the big opportunities are.
Right. As you mentioned, I think COVID was a real game changer. I think it definitely attracted a lot of people because they saw a need. And I think deep down inside, people are altruistic. We had a lot, particularly during COVID, of different industries wanting to help. For example, we had an airline actually contact us to say, like, look, we're not flying. We have all these workers, baggage workers, all these different people standing around. We want to help. So they're like, what can we do? Can they be trained in something to help triage and healthcare setting? So we had that a lot, actually, and even veterinary offices, because, obviously not a lot of people, a lot of their offices were required to close and they wanted help. So I think that drew a lot of different people into healthcare. Unfortunately, as pandemics and epidemics go, it also pushed a lot of pressure on our healthcare, our current healthcare workers, physicians, nurses, and I think that drove a lot of people to, retire early. So that created a huge demand. And as we'll talk about, there's so many different functions that make a healthcare facility. As a result, it requires a lot of different people and professions. So unsurprisingly, there continues to be a demand for all healthcare professionals. In fact, not maybe you've noticed this, like, I love facts. I love factoids. So, in fact, healthcare is the fastest growing sector in the U.S. I did look this up. 18 million healthcare workers right now, and they've always talked about this, like a huge shortage in healthcare. They talked about it with physicians. They talked about it with nursing, and that is true for other healthcare professionals too. Pharm tech, medical assistants, everything. So they're even saying by 2026, which sounds like a long way away when I was looking at it, and I'm like, it's only a few years away. We're going to need an additional 3.2 million healthcare workers,
Wow.
to replace the ones that are retiring. Our population is aging, but living longer, things like that. So, they're definitely going to be a huge demand. So the great thing is a lot of our programs that we offer at Penn Foster are chosen because they're in demand and what employers are really hiring for. So a few of them, we'll talk about, or which is the most in demand, and the ones that our students are really going towards, or, for example, pharmacy technician. Pharmacy technicians perform a wide range of duties in a pharmacy, everything from preparing new prescriptions for patients, refilling them, packing and labeling the medication, processing insurance claims, tracking inventory, preparing compounding medications, filling automated dispensing, and even packaging in bulk medications. Depending on the state, pharm techs can administer immunizations and vaccinations. Most pharm techs do work settings like CVS and Walgreens and Walmart. Other pharm techs, usually with more experience and training, may work in hospital pharmacies, long-term care, compounding pharmacies, and mail order pharmacies. So there's a lot of opportunities for pharm techs. And at Penn Foster, we have two different pharm tech programs, similar but a little different. The one that is probably the one that we always recommend to new students, the pharmacy technician professional. It's programmatically accredited by the American Society of Health Systems Pharmacists, or ASHP. And ASHP is a national association of pharmacy professionals and for training programs. So to be an ASHP accredited program, that we've met the highest standard as a training program for pharmacy technicians. And to be honest, a lot of states are requiring pharmacy technicians to work in that state to complete an ASHP accredited program. It does include an externship where students will work in an actual pharmacy along with pharmacists and their farm techs. It's such a great opportunity to get real world experience, right? And our other program, the pharmacy technician program, are for students in state don't necessarily require completion of an ASHP program, or maybe they're already working in the field and just want to get more training and to be certified. And speaking of certification, many states will require farm techs to be certified by either the PTCB, which is kind of the gold standard of certification, which is the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board, or National Healthcare Career Association. And that's the ACCEPT certification. Both programs do provide the cost of the voucher to sit for the exam as part of the program. So, for our goal is to really, from beginning to end, to make sure that students have the right training to be job ready and to, get a job as soon as they graduate. And there's a lot of opportunities. For example, I think CVS sends us a very, very long list of job openings. So there's a lot. I think they even told us one time that they're looking for 10,000. I think it was in the tens. 10,000. They have 1,000 openings for farm techs. So huge demand for it for sure.
Absolutely. I think it's awesome too that you mentioned the exam vouchers that come with the programs, because that's, you go into a program and you think that it's going to be this much. And then when you get towards the end and you do have to sit for those examinations or those certifications, like that's another expense that you don't think about right at the beginning, but that you might need based on your state and things like that. And knowing that that piece of it is covered for you, I feel like is a really big plus to our program.
I would agree. And programs really do align to these certifications. Like, a lot of these certifications will have certain domains and, areas of knowledge that they really want us to test on. And we really try to create a curriculum that aligns and addresses a lot of those. So.
And what's cool about this too is, as you mentioned, Jamie, there are so many places a pharmacy technician could work. So no matter where you live, no matter, if you are someone in a more rural area, if you live in a city, there are options for you for employment. So, with the current economic climate, if you're looking for something with a little bit more job security, this could be a great option to look into.
Yeah, and maybe people will start paying attention to it. Like when I think about, I don't know, like I jokingly say like Starbucks on every corner. There's a CVS, Walgreens,
True.
Walmart, all over the place. And there's so much places to advance. So there really is. You can get promoted and work in a pharmacy. I'm sorry, a hospital. You can do nuclear medicine. You can do a compound. That's where I think a lot of people, when they start out as entry level, can really, advance in with not, with a little bit of training and ambition, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this is just a perfect example of what you spoke to earlier, where you can start in a field like pharmacy technician and entry level, for example. But if you really love what you do and you keep pushing and growing in your career, there are so many opportunities to really build out this amazing career path for yourself. And it could be the start of a wonderful road for you in your future, which is awesome.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of people think they have to go like, okay, I want to be in healthcare. I'm going to go 8, 10, 12 years and go into medicine. It doesn't, it can, I would not poo-poo anyone that wants to go into that, but also, it's okay. I'll say like nursing. I can't tell you how many nurses I know, master's degree nursing, nurse practitioners that started out as certified nursing assistants, CNAs, then became LPNs or medical assistants, then became an RN, and then got their master's degree, and they did it while they had families. while they've worked full time. And, so it can absolutely build like this. You don't have to go from 0 to, I don't know, Mach 4, right off the bat. So absolutely.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I can, one of my, I shouldn't show favoritism, but one of my favorite programs is medical assistants, to be honest, because
Let's
I've been
hear
over
about
medical
it.
assistants, programs for a super long time. So, medical assistants, there's a huge demand for it. I'm in a lot of conferences and a lot of meetings. I don't know, boards that talk about how do we get medical assistants, get more medical assistants. I mean, they will, try to encourage them into the program, but even that, they're trying to get them out faster, So, so it really shows you how much in demand medical assistants are. And what I really love about medical assistants, they're kind of like multitask. They're because they're trained in both and administrative. They're like, a real double threat, when it comes to that. So I think I somewhere in a statistics like over the next 10 years, there's supposed to be a demand for, there's supposed to be a demand for more than 16% of medical assistants. And just like a lot of the ones we've been talking about, a lot of the professions, MA can work in a lot of different healthcare settings. You go to a doctor's or medical office or urgent care center, the person who's taking your medical history, taking your vital signs, performing your urinalysis, taking blood, taking, specimens for lab, administering medications and immunizations, assisting the provider in surgical procedures and other examinations is a medical assistant. I think a lot of people think that's a nurse. It could be, but for the most part, it's probably a medical assistant. On top of that, MAs are like I mentioned, one of the most multi-skilled professionals. They're trained in administrative skills as well. They have to be trained in electronic health records to update patient medical records, schedule patients. They might have to do some coding, submit insurance claim. They'll have to work with pharmacies to fill prescriptions, coordinate patient care with labs and other diagnostic studies and other providers. So I think that's why I really like medical assistants, because, they really are the ones that make a medical office run. There really are frontline workers in a lot of places. And just like we were talking about with pharmacy technician, a lot of employers do prefer medical assistants to be certified or registered. And, the Penn Foster program does provide a practice exam materials for students and the cost of taking the certified clinical medical assistant or the CCMA exam through the NHA as part of the program. And, it's one of the more common certifications in the country.
Yeah, I think that what you said about it being like, they're multitaskers and they're trained in so many different fields. When I first graduated from high school, I initially went into a physical therapy assistant program, and that's what really appealed to me, was that the PTAs, your hands were in everything. So, we were learning documentation, and we were learning, all of the actual, the medical things, but then also all of that other stuff. And it just felt like it would be perfect for a person who doesn't want their job to be exactly the same every day.
Right.
Which some people don't, and I also think too, a misconception with healthcare is that if you want to go into healthcare, everybody thinks that you're going to have to work directly with patients, right? And you're going to have to be in front of people. And I think the next one on our list is actually kind of a good example of one where you may not be directly working with the patients and talking to them directly, and that's sterile processing technician.
Absolutely. Still processing technician is actually, it should be surprising, but it's another profession that we've seen a growing demand for. It is still processing. Sometimes you might see it as central service technician, is another term, another name for the profession. Sometimes you'll see, and they play a really important role in preventing infection in a lot of our surgical procedures, invasive procedures. They'll sterilize, process, and distribute the medical and surgical equipment and supplies that we need for these procedures. So medical, even though it sounds like, oh, they'll just work in a hospital and things like that, but there's so many places that we do surgical and invasive procedures in. So they can work in a variety of healthcare settings as well. So hospitals, they can also work in dental offices because, you know, all those instruments in your mouth, you want them sterile.
Yes.
And for sure, you know, ambulatory surgical centers. These are ones that perform surgical centers, but not hospital. For example, there's a lot of things that can be done in a medical office or in an outpatient setting, like appendicitis, you know, things like that, that you'd be surprised at. So ambulatory surgical centers and many, as I mentioned, medical offices. A lot of providers are performing minor surgeries in, you know, like draining of the knee and, you know, a lot of different surgical procedures. So there's a lot that sterile processing can do. And, you know, we've been talking about certification and how important it is because that, you know, it's hard. We want to make sure that's not only students who complete the program are knowledgeable and competent in their profession, but we want to make sure that they're competitive in the job market as well. So for sterile processing, several states do require sterile processing techs to be certified. And the cost of the certification exam is in the program as well. And it's for the certified registered central service technician or the CRST certification with the Healthcare Sterile Processing Association or HISPA. And that is really like the most recognized certification for this profession.
I think you brought up a really good point about being competitive in the job market. Even though there are so many openings within healthcare, if you don't have any prior experience working in the field, this is where having education and certification, improving that you have at least the fundamental knowledge, if not like the hands-on skills to do these jobs, can really set you apart when you're applying and help you maybe get into some more attractive places and more attractive roles. You know, there are still a lot of people who are eyeing up jobs every time they're posted. So it could definitely give you that edge to be certified and to have that credential on your resume saying that you took a program and you're good to go with these skills and with this knowledge.
It's
And you can
interesting because I was
leverage it
actually
for
talking to a few of
income
my,
too, you know.
oh, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, like, you know, it can make the difference of a salary, you know, the amount of money that you're going to make. So, you know, that's also another upside to just adding on to what you were saying, Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just having this conversation with two farm tech instructors actually that they've been in the business for a while. So back not so long ago, they didn't have these training programs that you could just kind of like, we kind of jokingly say just plopped off the street, trained.
Mm-hmm.
That really doesn't happen very much anymore, you know, because of liability and lots of you know, things like that. And a lot of medical offices, a lot of dental offices, a lot of healthcare facilities don't have time to train, you know, so they really look to hire people with training already. So it's really hard to enter even an entry level job, depending on what it is, you know, but the ones that we're talking about, it's pretty tough to enter any of these professions without some kind of formal job training or certification or something like that. So yeah, absolutely.
And so another one on our list, and you know, another really big one that kind of doesn't stray but stays in the same realm is dental assistant. Obviously dental assistants are probably very similar to how you kind of described medical assistants in terms of like being very multifaceted and having like experience in all different places. So can you tell us a little bit about that career?
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate that people don't think um, oral health is an essential, like, you know,
Right.
like you know, something really important for healthcare out metric. It really is, because if you don't have good teeth, you know, obviously if you have an infection, it can really spread systemically. But also when you lose your teeth, I mean, it goes to like not being able to eat food. nutrition, it goes to nutrition. So healthcare is definitely, oral care is definitely, not something that we, has definitely been undervalued. And I'm not sure if that's the reason why dental assisting is so becoming more and more of a profession in demand, but it really is. So as you said, Jess, similar to medical assistants, dental assistants are trained in both administrative and clinical skills. For example, just as we mentioned with medical assistants, they patient's history, prepare the patient's medical records, schedule. And some of the clinical things that they might do is prepare the patient for procedures, cleaning and preparing the equipment, and assisting the dentist in dental procedures, like filling, crowns, and extractions. To be honest, as you notice, I mentioned like preparing and sterilizing equipment. There's a lot of overlap when it comes to like skills. Like, for example, still processing technician, I think we talked about last time, is a much shorter program than our dental assistant program. And so someone that can start working as a still processor can jump into becoming a dental assistant, or sometimes a surgical technologist or technician. So there's a lot of springboarding that can definitely happen. Dental assistant is a little bit tricky because every state has different requirements, with some requiring dental assistants to be certified or registered. The Penn Foster program does align, as I mentioned, like we really do align a lot of our curriculum to certification and registration exams. So the Penn Foster program does align and prepare our graduates in the dental assistant program to sit for the NELDA exam, which is the National Entry-Level Dental Assistant Program.
That's awesome.
Definitely. And I think, to your point too about like program lengths, and even just with all of this, these are careers that you can train for online on your own time. And really, I think what's cool about our programs is you can really make how you take the program work for you in your life right now, and also what your future goal is. Like you said, Jamie, like you can start out and maybe like sterile processing, and then if you want to move into something else, you can take another program and do that as you figure out what it is you want to do in your career and as you progress in your career. So one thing I wanted to get your perspective on next is how online programs can work for these very hands-on jobs.
Right. For sure. I mean, as an online as one of the great things about, advantages to taking an online program, and the big reason why students choose Penn Foster is because of the flexibility. Our programs are online. They're asynchronous and self-paced. That means that instead of having to complete an assignment each day or course each week or month, students can complete at their own pace and based on their own schedule. We kind of talked about that a lot. A lot of our students who want a career change or want to upskill or advance their training often already have a full-time job. On top of that, they have families with children. It can be very challenging to attend classes during the day, if not impossible. Plus, if you live in, a rural area, there might not be a campus close to you. So I think that's why it's one of the reasons why I really, I love Penn Foster. We really provide accessible education training for a lot of students. So online training programs can be a great option for many students. So with that, I think there's a couple things, you have to be prepared for. First of all, you just have to be prepared, even though it sounds great, definitely, possible to do. Life busy, right? And full. So you need to be organized and plan how you're going to dedicate several hours to school, maybe every day, maybe each week, depending on your program. It may feel daunting and even impossible, but I mentioned a large majority of our students, women, are in the healthcare, and a large majority of our students are women working full-time jobs and very highly likely to live family with children. For example, I know one student who put her twins, she did have twins, to bed early, and she would go to sleep early because she was so exhausted, but she would wake up at like 4 or 5 o'clock to get maybe 1 or 2 hours of class time in before she had to get them up. So everyone's circumstance is different. Yeah, circumstances are different, but it can be done. You just have to be prepared for it. And something I always try to tell students is, tell your family and friends what you're doing. Don't do it alone. Get their support. For you know for some of our programs, we have a really great, for example, Facebook community that's very encouraging. Students share a lot of their stories of struggle and success. For example, I think I read one where it was a student, female. She has 5 kids working full time, and she was saying like she's so proud of herself because she's doing it. She's doing it, And I was just like, I can barely take care of myself, And here's this person doing all this stuff. And I'll just put a plug in for the Facebook community. I think it's so great because I do jump on there to see what students are now talking about and things like this, and just to share in some of the success stories, and on top of a lot of students sharing their struggles and successes, they're setting up study groups on their own, and instructors also are posting study tips and videos on skills and things like that. And the great thing about Penn Foster is we have amazing instructors, waiting to help students. Students can email, call, chat, make appointments, one-on-one tutoring sessions with instructors. So, even though it's online and you might not see your instructor every single day, you can talk to them every single day if you want to. You really get to make that decision on, when you need help. And, we really want students to ask for they need it, not to hesitate, not wait until they get really frustrated and, want to give up, because we're going to try to talk you off that, cliff and try to help you the best we can. So, yeah. So, there's some great advantages to online, training, but also a few of our programs that we talked about. I think I mentioned it for Farm Tech. I think I may not have talked about it for medical assistant, is that even though a lot of our didactic courses are online, we also have several programs with online training. With real world training through the externship, where you're actually working in a real world setting. I don't think I talked about that with Farm Tech, but in both of those programs, there is externship component where you'll complete 130 or 160 hours in a real world setting. Like, one of the things that I'm sure you've heard about is like, I need hands-on training. How do I get real experience? This is your opportunity to work alongside pharmacists, farm techs, physicians, and other MAs, and get that hands-on experience, and to actually practice some of the things that you learned, program.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think those externships are really cool, and they do apply to programs where you kind of really can benefit from and need that hands-on experience. Otherwise, a lot of your coursework is online. And I know one thing that we're really considerate about when we're designing our programs and thinking about them is really how they give you the skills that you truly need to succeed in these jobs that you'll end up pursuing, without making you do anything that's like a lot of extras that are going to really weigh on you time-wise or weigh on you financially. We try and keep the costs of our programs on the lower end so that it's more accessible for you,
Right.
and you're not spending a lot of time and energy on tons and tons of courses. You're really able to focus on those courses or the programs like pharmacy technician that require an externship that genuinely gives you what you need for the jobs that you'll be pursuing.
Right. I think it's one of the reasons why I joined Penn Foster, to be honest. I love the affordability. I really love the affordability of the programs. And you're right. I think it's the way we create programs that are different lengths depending on what it is, right? So you're right. When, yes, need to know how to write an essay and maybe an APA format, but do you really need it for farm tech? Like, we really want to make sure that we give you the very focused training, the essential training to get there out in the field, and then let you grow and prosper, after that. And I like that about Penn Foster because we have a lot of different programs of different lengths. We have degree programs, we have diploma and career programs and shorter form certificate programs. And we're starting to get from employers like they're looking for shorter programs. I mean, just to kind of emphasize the shortage that we have in healthcare. They're like, we need them now. We need to get them, we need to get them done, trained, and hired and working in the field. So we're definitely getting more employers and our partners, communicating that they want shorter programs. I think that's really the great thing about it. So we have like electronic medical records, like, hey, maybe you just need that's a whole new thing. Patient service representative. There's just tons of our shorter form programs that can be completed in just a few months, and some of our other programs like Farm Tech, MA, dental assistant can definitely be completed within a year, depending on how much time you can commit. We do have students completing in less than a year. We also have lots of students who complete more than a year, because of all the different responsibilities they have in their lives. And, I think that goes to why our programs are so flexible and really can work for a lot of different students.
Definitely. And I think that's so cool. If you're somebody who you are already working full time, but you're looking to make a change, but you have employment currently, you're not in a huge rush, you can take your time with it. If you're somebody who really is looking to make a move ASAP, then you could dedicate maybe some more time to your coursework now and then try and make that career move sooner. So I think that was a great point that you brought up, Jamie, that really, you can kind of tailor how you do this to your life and what your goal is at the end of the day.
Right, absolutely.
And I think also, Jamie, I just want to give you just like a huge shout out because you just have so much knowledge, and everything that we talked about today is going to be so helpful to so many people. And all of these programs are incredible, but it's a testament to our you and our instructors and everybody, and taking the feedback of students and taking the feedback of partners, and we're constantly updating and constantly trying to staying relevant. And I think that all of that hard work really makes all of the difference. So just from us and from everybody, thank you for everything you do, and for joining us and taking time out of your day to discuss these programs and get this information to people. I think everything we talked about is going to be super helpful to a lot of people. So we really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that my passion for healthcare and education is conveyed, because, to see students, just, be self-sufficient. I mean, like I said, education and job training and having that translate to a job is great, but what it really translates into is independence, self-sufficiency. And I've seen students work like 3, 4, 5 jobs, and I just said, like, wouldn't it be great just to have one job? So you can depend on that paycheck, and you can spend time with your family. And so I think for me, that's what it really comes down to. Like, yes, I want to get you a job, but what does that really translate into in your life, in a quality of life, and not, I don't know. So yeah, I think that's kind of why I stay in education and healthcare. So it's such a passion of mine too. So thank you.
And that passion radiated through so much. And again, we so appreciate you joining. And to everyone watching, thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn more about these healthcare career options and the programs that we have. Again, if you're interested in any, feel free to give us a call, send us a message. Again, our admissions phone number is 1-888-427-6500. You can also visit pennfoster.edu if you want to learn more or explore other healthcare programs. As Jamie said, we have tons. We covered a few popular options today, but there are so many more, and options that fit what you want in your lifestyle. So take a look, explore, let us know if you have any questions. And thanks again for joining. Thanks again, Jamie, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're
Bye.
welcome.